Hey guys, it's your boy King Bullet, back with another video. Today's video is about Sakura. Now, I've had a lot of time to think. I made a video where I stated Saitama gets clapped by Sakura. And I know that upset a lot of people, and a lot of people were angry on Twitter, etc. And a lot of people had to explain to me Sakura's power scaling. So after looking at it properly, this is the honest truth. Sakura is still a god tier in Shippuden. I don't give a fuck what they say. In all seriousness, this is all my interpretation. So if you're getting angry over somebody's interpretation, then that's a little bit sad. Especially if it's a justified one. Like, you need actual reasoning to say it doesn't work. Now, I want you guys to watch this video properly. And now this is very important. I don't want you going to the comment section. If you actually disagree with me, I want you actually to join my Discord and debate me. If you are a normal human being who actually has brain cells, you'll at least watch this video even if you disagree with it, right? And you'll be open-minded just to see the arguments, right? And then if you have a problem, then you can let me know about it in my Discord. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to address is I'm not a Sakura fanboy or anything. I don't even like Sakura as a character. I think she's, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think she's that good of a character. I don't think she's trash, but I don't think she's really good either. No offense. But when it comes to power scaling, right? The power scaling I'm going to provide is actually really consistent. It's insane how consistent she is. Also, another thing, all the feats and scaling I'm going to be using for Sakura is concrete. None of them are off guard, none of them are gag moments. It's pure scaling. In this video, I'll be mainly focusing on full power Sakura or Sakura right at the end of Shippuden, but I will briefly be going over her prior versions. So part 1 Sakura, she's not really that strong. I think there's that one statement saying that like Naruto is the weakest link of Team 7 right before the Chunin exams, and this is directly to do with strength. So I'd assume that Sakura is beyond base Naruto at this point, and base Naruto can run at like Mark 5. I remember, this isn't some amped base Naruto, he can't make 1,000 clones, it's pretty much his casual stats. She fights Ino, like, who knows Ino scaling? No offense. However, the most important thing in part 1 is it's actually established she has outstanding chakra control and memory, and that she's a hidden talent. Now this is going to be really important later on, as you'll find out. Apparently she was like a genjutsu expert in part 1 or something, so that's weird. You never really see that come up again, other than the fact that she can break genjutsu. She also has like an inner personality that can actually resist mind hacks and stuff. I suppose that's a cool resistance. Oh yeah, and when it comes to knowledge, she's one of the smartest characters in the verse. She's like one of the only people who doesn't even need to cheat in the Chunin exams. Anyways, moving on to Shippuden. I have a bell test with Kakashi, and Kakashi and Naruto are both surprised with like how strong Sakura actually is now, and it seemed kind of threatened, so she could be near base Kakashi's level maybe. And apparently Kakashi's wondering if like she's a better ninja than Tsunade herself. But I'm not gonna assume that, there's better scaling anyways. So we know she goes on to fight Sasori, capable of actually harming Hiroko, his favourite puppet, and him himself. Now I do actually think Sasori was suppressed against Chio and Sakura. And the reason I say this is because like there was a lot of trauma for him, right? There was emotional trauma, and he kind of looked down upon Sakura even at the beginning. He was calling her girl, he didn't really take her seriously. And we know Sasori actually has really good scaling, right? Sasori defeated the third Kazekage, the strongest ever Kazekage, right? He had the Iron Sand, and the Iron Sand is actually stated to be the strongest weapon within the sand ever, meaning it's actually beyond the actual One Tails. And as the strongest Kazekage, he should be superior to Raza, who could actually subdue the One Tails. So Sasori is easily tailed beast level. He has even better scaling than that. He actually scales to Deidara. In fact, Deidara states that like Sasori is his master and is superior, and stronger than him directly. Now Deidara is really insane. He can actually contend with Heavy Sasuke. Heavy Sasuke is probably stronger than Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke, ironically. And there's like a few statements in scaling kind of proving that, but I won't go into detail. We also know Deidara should also be able to keep up with Oniki and could potentially kill him. And you guys obviously see the problem here. Oniki and Heavy Sasuke could definitely destroy Sakura. In fact, Heavy Sasuke destroys all of Team 7 by himself at the beginning. So Sakura isn't anywhere near Sasori. Sasori was clearly suppressed. We do actually learn later on that Sakura can actually one-shot some of the pain summonings. Now I'm not saying the pain summonings are like relative to the actual Diva Pain or anything, right? But we do know they're pretty strong. They can actually like hold down like version 2 Biju. And some of the other summonings can actually take attacks from Sage Jiraiya. I'm not saying Sakura's that level, but she's around that area. Ability wise, she's actually capable of healing people, which is really important. And she's actually capable of doing a substitution jutsu. She can also extract poisons from people, and she is pretty smart. She can actually come up with antidotes that other really smart ninja can't. Okay, now moving on to the War Arc. How strong is Sakura? That's probably what you've all been like waiting for, I suppose. Well, we do know her in her base, according to Hashirama, is potentially stronger than 100 healings Tsunade, which is pretty insane, because she's in base and Tsunade is not. Also, the same base Sakura is actually stayed equal to KCM Naruto and EMS Sasuke. And then find the Jubi. The same Jubi that's Chakra is actually comparable to a small planet. Now the data book actually also backs this up, right, several times, saying that she's actually equal to KCM Naruto and EMS Sasuke. And if you actually look at the direct picture, it's her on her base, so I don't want any like arguments. She can also summon Katsuyu. Now Katsuyu is able to heal people, she can actually turn into lots of different slugs and heal people. She should be relative to the other summonings Naruto and Sasuke summon, who can actually avoid attacks from KCM Naruto and EMS Sasuke. And now this is where people actually cap her. I don't know why, but like, she can't get any stronger than this, for some reason. Even though it's actually directly stated that she has one of the highest potentials in the verse, and it was kind of established in part 1. It's like people think she can't actually get stronger. They forgot she actually has another form on top of this, right? They forgot she has 100 healings. They literally forgot that every fight, you actually get stronger. It's stated by B, right? Every fight you participate in, you actually get stronger. Okay, so now Naruto and Sasuke get 6 buffs amps. That's insane. They fight Madara, and they're all getting bodied. Now there's an actual statement, right, in the Lost data book, that Sakura was actually equal to Naruto and Sasuke in his situation versus Madara. Now I'm not saying Sakura can actually take Madara, she obviously gets bodied too, but that's my whole point. She was equally getting bodied. So she's still the same level as Naruto and Sasuke in his situation, right, who have got 6 buffs amps. It's just that they can't actually keep up with Madara either at this point. Now there's actually one situation where like Sakura rushes at like him, right, but is blocked by the Limbo clone, but she didn't actually see the Limbo clone, so this is like an off-guard feat. And then Madara kind of like stabs her, and then pushes her back. He sends her flying into Naruto, so technically they're both getting bodied. And so what's important about this feat is, right, Madara actually threw Sakura with enough force to push Naruto back, and yet Sakura wasn't actually injured from this. So it makes sense for her to be a kind of relative to Naruto at this point. You could say Naruto cushioned it, but that's not relevant at all, because she would have been harmed from the actual physical push in the first place. Plus Naruto's actually flying back, so it's also harming him too. Of course Naruto and Sasuke adapt even further with their powers and get stronger. Now we move on to their fight with Kaguya. How strong was she against Kaguya? Regarding her 100 healings. There's always going to be that one person in the comment section who's going to be like, well, why didn't she use his power earlier if she had it? Well, she literally states why she didn't use it. She couldn't actually use it prior. So her first feat, she actually refills Obito's chakra when he's run out. Now Obito is a 6 buffs level character. He has 6 buffs chakra. It's actually stated at this point he has 6 buffs chakra. And can ironically actually tag Jubi Madara and Kaguya. He can obviously dodge their attacks too. Sakura also kind of outspeeds him too. Like, you know when the acid's coming towards him, he can't even move. And Sakura kind of has to push him out the way. And funnily enough, if you're using the game, obviously you don't need to consider it canon. I'm just bringing it up randomly. But he actually, along with Kakashi, actually fights against Jubi Madara. Okay, back to her feat before I get like off topic. Obito's basically like, yo Sakura, give me your chakra. And then Naruto's like, oh yeah, you can have some of my chakra. This is Naruto's clone, by the way. And then Obito's like, no, you don't have enough chakra. I need Sakura's chakra. This ironically means Sakura actually has more chakra than Naruto's clone. Now at the beginning of a fight with Kaguya, Naruto makes a few clones. However, he's actually able to match Kaguya even after that. But post that, he only makes 1 clone. This is before he makes those thousands of clones. So if each clone kind of divides your chakra, then this is at least half of Naruto's chakra. It should be way better than the clone Naruto actually used against Madara. The one that could actually swap hands with like Madara's Limbo clone. And Madara's Limbo clone's actually stated equal to him. Okay, so Sakura has 6 boss level reserves. So her chakra is pretty big. Now why is this relevant to her actual stats? This is really important. Because we know speed and power essentially come from your chakra control. This is actually stated. Now Sakura's actually stated to have a maximum chakra control. She can literally put all of her chakra into her fists, right? And use it efficiently to its max amount. Meaning she's either equal or better than 6 buffs Naruto at controlling her chakra. Especially when it comes to physical attributes. So at the bare minimum, she would have to at least be half as strong as Naruto. Now later on she actually goes on to avoid Kaguya's chakra hands. Well, she doesn't completely avoid it, but she's able to at least keep away from it for a good while, like outrunning it until she kind of slows down. And this is mainly due to the speed and size of Kaguya's chakra hands. Like Naruto and his clones completely struggled to actually react to these hands, and Naruto actually directly called them fast. He literally had to call Sasuke because he couldn't save Sakura in time. And now one of the most controversial feats. When Naruto and Sasuke are trying to seal Kaguya, rushing towards her with the seal, Sakura is actually fast enough to come from above her and actually punch her in the head, breaking her horn and causing bruising on the other side of her face, just through concussive force. Now she was so fast, Sakura actually had a mini dialogue in her head while this was actually happening. Kaguya's horn is actually a part of her physiology, so her bone pretty much, that's what a horn is. The horn actually snapped, meaning Sakura's AP or striking potency is actually superior to Kaguya's durability. Now Kaguya's durability should be equal to her destructive capacity. So we know Kaguya can destroy stars, large stars easily, because that's how big her dimensions are. We know at the very least she can actually create her dimensions. Now, if you can create this much energy or produce it, your body needs to be able to take the counterforce. It's a really fundamental law. It's Newton's third law. It sounds like super complicated, but it's not. It's like a really simple thing. Like, I guarantee you most people apply this all of the time. Like, literally, when you do a punch, right, and you punch like an iron wall, you know that like if you broke it, your durability would scale to it, assuming your hand doesn't actually get destroyed. So Sakura in this case actually caused concussive damage. She literally damaged and bruised the other side of Kaguya's face just through concussive force. Obviously she's nowhere near as strong as Kaguya, but she should actually be in the same order of magnitude, right? Like, come on, to at least harm somebody a little bit, you have to be in their tier at least. Okay, now I know what people are gonna say. They're gonna say this feat was done to like Kaguya's blind spot or something, right? Or that Kaguya was off guard. Well, I've actually debunked this in the past. That is not the case at all. Because we know in this direct scenario, right before Sakura actually punched her, she made a little sound, and Kaguya was actually aware of this. She has like the exclamation mark. Now, all the way throughout this fight consistently, we all know for a fact that exclamation mark is shown to actually represent precognition, to show that the character has awareness that there's another character near them without directly seeing them. Like, Kaguya shows this dozens of times. Naruto shows it, Sasuke shows it. So, Kaguya knows Sakura is behind her. She's literally about to turn her head and then gets punched, so she was ready for it. Even if you say Kaguya wasn't like 100% prepped for it or whatever, right? You still have to be around the character's tier to actually damage them. Unless you're catching them completely off guard and their chakra is like completely suppressed. And it would make no sense for like Kaguya to switch her chakra off literally when she can see Naruto and Sasuke to the side of her and they're trying to seal her away. And I really hate the blind spot argument. Is so dumb, because in real life or even normal people in Naruto, they don't usually have 360 vision anyways. Just because you're hit outside your vision doesn't mean you're like caught off guard or something. That's really dumb. Literally in real life, boxers can actually hit each other like behind the head. Obviously it's gonna hurt more than a normal punch, and it is actually an illegal shot. But most boxers can still take it if a person's relative to them. Not gonna break your bone like he's broken Kaguya's horn, for example. For example, if a baby punches me on the back of the head, that's not gonna knock me out. You still have to be relative to the other person. And for all the people who think it's not a speed feat, Kaguya's like, I'm not fast enough to teleport away. And here's Sakura having a mini dialogue in her head and punching her, as all of this was actually happening. For all of the people saying Kaguya was weakened or something, she literally fueled herself using the actual chakra from Earth. All of her stats drastically rose right before this. The fact that Kaguya even thought about teleporting in this moment meant she could teleport. And to teleport, she even states she needs a large amount of chakra. So Kaguya easily had more than enough chakra to be near full capacity. Completely prove all of this, to literally hammer this home, is stated in the 4th data book that in this exact scenario, when Naruto and Sasuke were trying to seal Kaguya and Sakura punched her, that Team 7, Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura, that Sakura wouldn't actually fall behind them in ability, meaning she would have to at least be equal to them in sheer power, not hacks. Now in this example, Naruto and Sasuke were actually capable of harming Kaguya. Like, they had sliced her arm, punched her away. They were definitely relative to her. So all of this scaling makes sense. So one rebuttal might be like, well, Sakura was in base against Kaguya. She doesn't actually need to be in 100 healings to have access to that reservoir of chakra. She's essentially already gained it. Now a lot of people might say, well, 100 healings isn't actually like an amp to stats. It could just be like a chakra amp. No, it's actually stated it affects your stats directly, especially your strength. Well, what about 100 healings amp? How is that a 6th path level amp? Because she was actually getting stronger just by fighting, so it doesn't even need to be that amp inherently. But we don't know how much chakra she actually built over the years, and compared to Tsunade, we don't know how much more chakra she could actually intake. It could be drastically more than Tsunade's. We don't really know, that's the issue. Now what's the only problem left? The only problem is you, pretty much. People who still can't accept this, maybe because it's a personal incredulity fallacy, and they just don't want to accept this. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. How could a normal human be this strong? You know what? Just to go into even more detail and completely confirm it, I'm gonna justify that as well. In Gaara Hiden, he actually makes the statement that normal humans are actually starting to get really strong, and he's actually talking about Sakura. He's actually surprised how strong Sakura's got, surprisingly, as somebody who doesn't have all of these crazy amps, and kind of inspires him to get stronger. And if you don't know Gaara's scaling, you need to watch my video on the current 5 Kage. Anyways, in this novel, Gaara actually says you don't actually need all of these crazy Kekkei Genkai and stuff to be strong. You can actually do pure training and get strong now. Now moving on, we know Sakura in the Lost was actually capable of resisting Genjutsu that Naruto wasn't, and we know that like he's at least got MS level Genjutsu resistance, since we know Jinchuriki can actually resist the Mangekyo Sharingan, like B did to like MS Sasuke. Now could she have been like Toneri? She probably could have, in complete honesty. Like Toneri wasn't actually the biggest threat, like Naruto kind of reverted back into base to like take him out. The thing is, a lot of people could actually beat Toneri even though there was Sasuke and stuff, right? And also Teneri kind of actually got really strong at the end when he absorbed all of our solar radiation. You could argue he was getting nearer to like Hamura's power, and Hamura could kind of fight like a prime Kaguya. I don't think like Teneri was above Kaguya, but he should be relative to those kind of amounts when he's mutated. Which does actually make sense, because if you actually look at one of the Boruto summaries, it's actually stated that Kaguya was the biggest threat like up until like Boruto kind of started, and this was actually before Momoshiki was actually introduced. We do know Sakura actually later on in her own novel, like Sakura Hiden, ends up fighting a guy called Kido. You probably know about this. But what's really interesting about this is we kind of get a speed feat from it at least. Kido was like an Onbu captain, and it's actually stated in Naruto the first fan book that Onbu level characters are actually like light speed. But this actually says they're like a flash of light or something. But if you actually look at the raw, it directly says they're as fast as light. And it does kind of make sense, since we know like when Kakashi was on the Onbu when he was a kid, without any chakra could react to lightning. Well, this could be the return stroke, which could make it like 1/3 the speed of light. But even if you say it isn't, he had no chakra. And we do know that Onbu captains are definitely at least Jonin level, if not above. And we've seen Jonin actually react to light speed attacks. Even in part 1, like we see Kakashi do it quite a few times. He reacts to like Haku, Itachi's water bullets. And all of these moves actually stayed light speed, so it makes sense. Later on in Sakura Hiden, this novel, Kido kind of gets this amp, so he takes a tailed beast drug and turns into a version 2 tailed beast. Now he states the increase in his power and speed directly is several orders of magnitude. An order of magnitude is like 10, so orders of magnitude is like 10 times 10, etc. In this case, several means 3, so we do 3 10s. So it's 10 times 10 times 10, which would ironically get you 1000. So Kido is 1000 times faster than he was in base. And in his base, he should be light speed as stated. And Sakura is actually able to keep up with his Kido. Pretty casually too, so she should also be 1000 times faster than the speed of light. I mean, this is a really easy, simple way to do it. You could actually scale it to like other characters like Kaguya, Madara, who have crazy feats, but you don't really need to do that. I'm trying to keep this video really simplistic. Now, using the same method, you could figure out like her power, but we already figured out she's as strong as like these god tier characters at the end of Shippuden who are like large star levels. And obviously she does have the hacks where she can like overheal you and kill your cells, therefore not just being regeneration negation, but also durability negation. So moving on to Boruto era, she probably got stronger, but we can't really quantify how much stronger. It's really ambiguous. She does fight Shin. Some people say Shin isn't that strong, some people say Shin is really strong. We don't really know. And he's definitely not as strong as Naruto and Sasuke usually. So he doesn't actually scale to Naruto and Sasuke. I don't like it when people do that. It's actually stated in the Naruto Lost movie novelization that Sakura had never seen somebody as strong as Momoshiki. Had never seen Naruto and Sasuke be pushed this far. It was like a completely different league they were fighting in. Or if you want to be literal, like another dimension, compared to what Sakura thought they were in. And Sakura did actually see Shin, so they weren't really trying against Shin. And Sakura was in base. It looked like she wasn't really trying. She didn't really need 100 healings or anything. It was a really casual thing. They were fighting some random dude. We don't really know how strong Shin was. Within Sasuke Risuden, which is another novel, apparently there's a feat about like Sakura reacting to like a beam coming from under the constellation. However, that didn't really happen. If you read it properly, you'd know that the beam of light actually comes from underneath the lake. It was actually hidden in the lake. That was the whole point. Those were the earth particles. Hagoromo had actually hidden them on earth. If I brought that up in the past, I'm sorry. That was like a misinterpretation on my side, but just ignore that. But don't get too upset about that. There is another feat. There's a feat from Hagoromo. Because he does actually send the star polar particles to another constellation. Even if he says it's the closest constellation, and assume it took him like a day, which he really shouldn't have. He needs to eat and drink. Plus, this guy's dying. He has a lot of other things to do, so this is actually a low ball. I guess he resorts like 1,500 times the speed of light. And we know Kage's scale is above Hagoromo. Well, at least 2 Hagoromo. And then we know Sakura can kind of react to that. Hopefully, everything I brought up should be enough to prove Sakura is actually really strong. And she does actually scale to the Shippuden god tiers. So large star level, 1,000 times faster than the speed of light. She's a rival to Naruto and Sasuke, so it kind of does make sense. For all the people wondering where my Naruto video is, the full power Naruto video is coming. Like, it probably won't be the next video, it might be the video after that. Since, remember, I did say in the last video, I'm waiting for the Boruto chapter to drop. The reason I made this Sakura video was because it was voted for on my actual poll on Twitter. If you want to say in what videos I make, go follow my Twitter, I will actually link it down in the description. Other than that, don't forget to sub, like the video, and you'll probably see another video coming out in not too long.